It's episode 197 of the Author Stories podcast. I'm your host, Hank Garner. Find all of the episodes at hankgarner.com, and when you're there, look over in the right-hand sidebar. Like I tell you every week, there are links there where you can subscribe, and you'll never miss an episode of the show. But also, subscribing helps other people find the show. And if you would leave a comment and a rating at iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher Radio or at YouTube, I would really appreciate it. I'd like to thank some sponsors this week. Dominion Rising, 23 all-original science fiction epic fantasy novels. Dominion Rising is only 99 cents in pre-order. We're going to talk about it more in the show. Also, Tales from the Canyons of the Damned, episode 16 is out. We're also going to talk about it in the show as well. Galactic Satori Chronicles, A Thirst for Revenge sends one man on a deadly journey through the galaxy in an adrenaline-pumping new novel, Galactic Satori Chronicles. There's actually 2 books in the series now. Book 1 and Book 2 are now available. Some of the very best in science fiction and guaranteed epic beach reading for this summer. Pick up books 1 and 2, Earth and Kron by authors Nick Breaker and Paul E. Hicks. Galactic Satori Chronicles. And also thanks to my friend Ed Gosney for sponsoring the show. If you love comic books the way I do and feel a certain nostalgia for that, go visit his blog at edgosney.com. There each week he does a featured post where he highlights a group of comics that have something in common. I learn something just about every week when I read his blog, and it also kind of motivates me to go back through my collection and read some things that I've not read in a while. Also, thank you to Amy Hale for sponsoring the show. Her Shadows trilogy is now available. All 3 books are out on all ebook platforms as well as paperback. This series is epic. It's awesome. It's a mixture of a little romance, a little action adventure, a little mystery with a supernatural twist. It's the Shadows trilogy from Amy Hale. Also, at the end of the show, as always, we have an audio clip from Richard Gleaves' Jason Crane series. As always, thanks for listening. Well, thanks for joining me again for the Author Stories podcast, where I bring you the story behind the stories and the storytellers. One of my favorite kinds of shows to produce are the ones where I have several of my friends on and we talk about a special project or bring some light to something new and cool that's going on in the writer community. And today I am joined by Daniel Arthur Smith, Samuel Peralta, Pavarti K. Tyler, and Gwynn White. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Good morning, Hank. Thanks.
Good morning. So today's theme is collaborative collections, and we're going to talk about serial literary magazines, short story anthologies, full-length novel box sets, and how these things are really opening up great new avenues for writers and for readers, and allowing for a new kind of collaboration and joint creativity that's really doing some great things. So to begin with, we're going to talk about some and what we're really talking about is people working together to build things that are bigger and better than any of us can do all on our own. And these guys all represent some projects that are very familiar to the listening audience. And we're going to dig into maybe some things you don't know about what makes these things work and maybe what writers can do to get involved with some of these. So Daniel Arthur Smith is here to talk about Tales from the Canyons of the Damned, and Daniel has also curated a couple of anthologies as well, the Clones anthology from last year, and he's working on another one that will release later this year. Samuel Peralta, as you all know, is the mastermind of the Future Chronicles, and so many good things coming there. Samuel has given a platform to so many writers and has helped launch so many writers' careers. It's just crazy. Pavarti Tyler has the Uncommon anthologies, where she is taking some very uncommon themes and really doing something cool and interesting and giving a platform to people and ideas that may not find a home elsewhere. And then Gwynn is here to talk about the Dominion Rising box set, which is this massive set of 23 all new novels that are coming out packaged as one box set. So welcome to the show, everybody. Daniel, why don't we talk just for a second? Why don't you introduce the Canyons project and talk about what makes, well, first off, kind of where did the idea come from and what makes a project like this so special?
So the Canyons of the Damned is a short fiction monthly literary magazine. We release general themed issues, kind of like Twilight Zone or Netflix's Black Mirror. So they all have a little bit of a twist. Some of them are fantasy, some of them are future of tomorrow, but the commonality is that they have a slipstream effect on the reader that you can't help but find some physical stimuli when you're reading these stories. Canyons of the Damned initially started as a way for authors to put together stories that were too small or too short to put in the ebook stores. For example, a story of maybe only 500 words or 1,000 words, or even a short poem by itself cannot be priced as free, and it has a minimum pricing, for example, in the Amazon store of 99 cents. And because of the thresholds of the market, readers just weren't getting a chance to partake in some of these stories. So we started putting them together. What's happened since then, driven by the writers, is that we've gone into theme issues, themed omnibus. We have poetry. It's pretty outstanding what it's become.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really carries on this great tradition we have of literary magazines where, like you said, people can submit pieces from that are all different lengths and maybe can't find a home somewhere else. So it's awesome. And you have had mostly indie authors that have contributed, which is really cool that you've given a home and built this thing that is competing with some of the big literary magazines. So great things are happening in the publishing world for sure.
Well, we have quite an array of authors. They aren't just indie. There's indie/trade. When we started the Canyons, I think that line was a lot. It was far more definitive than it is today. That line in the industry, as you know, with your weekly guest, is becoming a very blurred area. And we have a call out, but I really don't list a call to market in any of the market listings because writers are coming forward and wanting to get involved. They're inspired. They're excited. They have things to contribute. And, we feel at times, we basically have an outline right now through the end of the year. With some slots still open here and there. But the exciting thing about that is when the writers say, hey, we really want to have an edition that does X. For example, we just released a time travel edition this month. And so that's the Canyons number 16 of the general issues. And the authors in there, Nathan Beecham and Paul Swardstrom and Christopher Vallon and Ernie Howard, and then I have a little something there myself. But everybody has a different take on a time travel story that's not your run-of-the-mill time travel story. And these are excellent short fiction reads in a theme that probably wouldn't have come about had the writers not asked for it.
Right. And what is it that really intrigues you about pulp? We've talked about it before, but what do you think sets Canyons apart from the other literary magazines?
Because the writers are writing pulp, that's a code word for relax and write what you want to write. Don't try too hard. Have fun. For other stories or novels or anthologies, writers, myself, yourself, set targets that we're striving to achieve some type of agenda. Maybe it's a craft agenda. Maybe we're setting out to put some type of message in our story, to teach ourselves or teach the reader. But the fun thing about pulp is it's just a story. It's a snapshot of something that happened, and anything goes. and I encourage the writers to feel free to put down what they have in their mind, and if it gets a little sloppy, we'll clean it up on the editing floor. Jessica West has worked with us since the inception, and she's a strong collaborator. I think of all the writers as collaborators, but she has just been. We couldn't have the development and the issues in the stories without her. Her rapport with each of the authors is unreal. And she's worked with some of the other people on this podcast today. I mean, she's very, very up and coming. Can't live without her,
and
man.
God bless her, man. She has the patience of Job, I tell you.
She really does. She's the standing editor for the Uncommon Anthologies, and man, she puts in a lot of work and a lot of love.
So, Pavarti, speaking of the Uncommon Anthologies, tell me where the idea for these came from, and what sets these anthologies apart from some of the other stuff that's going on out there.
Well, the idea initially came just as a one-off project. I had read a book called Bearded Ladies, and it was a single author who'd put together a number of really beautiful short stories. And in every single story, she had taken a different kind of archetypical freak show character, the giant woman, the small man, the strong man, the bearded lady, and put them together in one collection. And I read that, and I was so inspired that I went and I wrote my own little story called Daedalus's Daughter, which was a lot of fun. And I thought, I'll put together a collection of my own. But I didn't have that many stories, and I didn't want to just copy what this particular woman had done. So I came up with this idea of uncommon bodies. And I approached it as a way to both represent those with uncommon bodies and to pull in diverse points of view about the human form. And made it into an anthology. Thought it would just be fun. I invited a couple of friends. I put out a small open call just to fill in the ranks and get some diverse voices. But for the most part, it was intended just to be a one-off. And then we had so much fun. The authors had fun. I had fun, that really the authors wanted to do another one. So I thought, hey, why not? And I made it, really clear, this is going to be a collaborative effort. This isn't going to be, I'm the publisher and therefore we just do what I say. Everybody's going to help with the marketing. Everybody's going to work together. This is going to be a community if we're going to do it, because I'm not necessarily interested in being a publisher. And now it's grown, and we're releasing our 5th anthology at the end of the summer, which will be Uncommon Lands. We have a strong commitment to making sure that we have diverse voices of many cultures, many colors, the queer community, but also making sure that there is a place for stories that oftentimes there aren't venues for. I love magical realism. Haruki Murakami is one of my absolute favorites, along with Banana Yokomoto and a few others who write in that genre. And not everybody knows what that genre is, and that's fine. It's basically just the real world with fantastical elements in it in order to make an allegory. And the beauty of these stories and the messages that we've had come through are shocking. I read some of them, and people come up with things I could have never anticipated. We did Uncommon Origins, and Sam put a story in called The Price that is beautiful and horrifying, and something I've never expected to come in through this suggested topic. And I find that so exciting to see where people's brains go. And again, a lot of these stories, they're not going to go on Amazon for 99 cents and do particularly well on their own, because a lot of them are weird. They're not going to go into traditional magazines or short story collections. We have a combination of traditional authors, indie authors, hybrid authors. I don't even look. I don't know who's got traditional books or agents or anything like that, because I do a wide open call in order to make sure we have diverse voices.
And it doesn't matter anymore.
It certainly doesn't matter to me, because I read the stories blind. I don't know who's written the stories when I read them for acceptance. So we do a call. Jessica reads all of them. Then I read all of them. And then she and I convene and go through every single story. And we do it blind to make sure that we are bringing the A game, which sometimes ends up with things that we don't expect. We end up with more horror in one episode, or it ends up in one anthology, or it ends up more sci-fi than we had originally intended. But they're the best stories.
One thing I love about the Uncommon books is that not only do you have a very diverse cast of creators that you've invited in and have earned their place in the anthologies, but what I love is the topics that you tackle are sometimes, they open the doors for people to talk about things that are taboo, or, things that just may not, get published in a more mainstream magazine or anthology. Because you guys have built this thing and have found the audience for it, you are able to highlight things and give people a platform to talk about things. And that's what I absolutely love.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it, because that's definitely one of the intentions. The fun of the theme isn't so much to dictate what people write as to see what wellspring comes when given just a little push. We've had uncommon bodies, we've had uncommon origins, uncommon minds, uncommon lands is coming, and after that we'll be doing uncommon evil. I haven't put a call out yet, but any authors who are listening, watch for it, because I'm super excited about that one. And absolutely, that's part of the goal, is to bring stories that take a unique and exciting take on whatever the theme is. I want to be surprised as a reader. I want to be excited and enthralled as a reader. So as a curator, I'm looking for those stories that do that.
Do you feel like that now that indie publishing has become mainstream, and you've got creators like you and Jessica who are really small presses that are putting these things out, do you feel like that since the landscape has changed like that we will get to see more unique, maybe edgy, I don't really like that word, but things that just wouldn't normally land on our bookstore shelves? Do you think that we've opened those doors for new ideas and new voices to come out?
Absolutely. And I think that the indie community has been doing that since the very beginning. I'll tell you, my story, Shadow on the Wall, is a Muslim superhero story. And I had agents interested. I had publishers interested when I first put it together. And one publisher wanted me to change it to make it a romance between the Muslim superhero and the Jewish female lead, which, if you've read the book, doesn't make any sense. And is a different book. I mean, it sounds like a great book, but it's just not the one I wrote. And then another publisher wanted me to take out all of the violence against women. And I understand why. It's very controversial. But again, that kind of undermines the point of the book. So I think that the indie publishing movement from the very beginning has given us the opportunity to bring stories forward that otherwise wouldn't have an audience. The exciting thing to watch, though, is how the indie community is working together.
Yes.
Uncommon Anthologies is totally different from a lot of other projects I've been involved in, because we have an author group on Facebook, and it's a private group. It's just for us. And we've done workshops. We've done, ask the editor Q&As where Jess helps them with specific questions. People post, samples of things. We beta each other's work. And instead of becoming just a place where I got my story published, I made my, X amount of money, it's really a place to help each other and push each other and help tell each other's audiences about these awesome new stories that are out there, and bring together an artist collective almost, which I know everybody on this podcast, everybody who's here today, has done similar work to encourage this idea of an author community. And I think the reason why is exactly what you're saying. As we're doing these unconventional stories, we need each other's support. And having an author support system, even just somebody to talk to that will reassure you that you're not nuts to publish this short story, right, is really exciting and liberating.
Right.
You know, I'd like to add that I think another key point of working together in that way isn't just the nuts factor of being a writer in general, but also the inspiration to compete against each other and say, hey, I'm going to write this crazy thing, and well, I'm going to out crazy you. And this way that writers organically raise the bar of their craft, tightening up the paragraphs, the words, the lines, in an effort to make, they do it in a race, but it's really an effort to do a personal best. And I find that happens a lot easier, a lot more organically if you're with a group working together than if you're in a void by yourself, just beating your head against the keyboard.
Sure. And
it's all,
go ahead, Pavarti.
I was just going to say it's fun. Daniel's been in my collections. I've been in his collections. We've done other collaborative projects together. And every time I see one of my anthologies beat out Canyons, I've got a little like in the back of my head. But at the same time, like, I'm bringing my A game to the anthology that's coming out later this year that Daniel's put together, because I'm so excited and so intimidated by the people that, you know, I'm honored to be writing alongside of. So is absolutely right. The competition is the healthy, fun kind of competition, not the we're going to tear each other down.
Oh, absolutely. And,
but I think
go ahead, Gwynn.
I think it's also important to mention here that while Canyons and the Uncommon anthologies have filled a very necessary place in the writing community, that there is also a home for authors who write more conventionally, who perhaps aren't looking at life through that particular window, but are writing your classic sci-fi, your classic fantasy, speculative fiction, and they also wanting to get together. They also understand the power of putting, 10, 20 authors in a room, figuratively, and saying, right, let's pool our resources here. Let's all produce the very, very best manuscript that we can. Let's put our marketing heads together. Let's combine our talent, and let's put something amazing out into the world. Indie authors have so much going for them, but we also have a lot of disadvantages. And by working together, this whole collaborative thing, I lift you and you lift me, is the most beautiful part of being an indie author. It's if readers only ever read one fantasy book a year, well, yeah, sure, we'd be in competition with each other. But they don't. There are millions of readers, and millions of readers reading different kinds of fantasy, my fantasy, your fantasy. We're not actually in competition with each other. And the beauty is when we can get together and we can collaborate and we can share and we can lift each other. That's where the true magic of working together with other authors comes to play.
And
Absolutely. And I have to say that Gwynn she's a master at this. What Dominion Rising, the box set that Gwynn and I are organizing together, but that she's really the spearhead for, is it's become something way more than I think anybody ever anticipated. And a lot of that is because of Gwynn's openness and giving spirit and commitment to transparency. And I think we all strive for that. But she's really done a fantastic job of making sure that collaboration is the focus.
And we're going to dive into that in just a minute. I really want to peel the layers back of what you guys are doing there. we want to. I want to dedicate some time to that in just a minute. But you guys were talking about collaboration a minute ago, and Gwynn, you mentioned, getting writers in a room together, so to speak. And if you think one writer is crazy, put 10 together and see what see what sort of madness happens. Let's bring Samuel into the conversation real quick. Samuel is a distinguished alumnus of the Author Stories podcast. The first time you were on the show, Samuel, it's been almost 3 years ago, if you can wrap your head around that. 2.5 at least.
In internet time, that's ancient.
What's that?
In internet time, that's ancient.
It's like several centuries or something. But when you first came on, you were dabbling in this Future Chronicles thing. And tell me kind of what was that initial motivation to put together an anthology, and how has it grown and exceeded your expectations?
Well, thanks, Hank. I'm really pleased to be back on the show. When I first started with Hank those long years ago, I only had a couple of anthologies under my belt. And really, it was coming in as an indie author and not knowing what else to do to get noticed out there that I thought, gosh, I came from the poetry world, and I could only write very short fiction. So I said, well, I'm going to write a short story, and I'm going to put it in an anthology and then maybe get it noticed. So I placed it in a couple, and then I said, why don't I do one of my own? And I did another and another and another. And before long, you have where we are now. The Future Chronicles is basically one of the most established short story anthologies in the indie world right now. It's got 22 volumes now, with 8 more planned, 15 stories per issue. It's revolved around themed short stories, so you're things that people are familiar with and know what they're getting, like the AI Chronicles about AI, the Dragon Chronicles, time travel, alt history, shapeshifter, doomsday. The latest being Jurassic Chronicles. Upcoming, we're going to have B-movie, Wool, and Mars. And again, the Future Chronicles actually grew very organically, and I think of myself as an accidental anthologist. But it grew because of 3 things that make collective projects very strong. And I think they're the kind of things that made Daniel's Canyon strong, and they're the kind of things that make Uncommon Anthologies from Pavarti strong, and the kind of things that I think are leading to the success of Dominion Rising. And that's a collective project that feeds on the talents of all the authors in a community, a commitment to that community by the author, so it's a two-way street, as well as a sharing within that community of all the strategies in terms of craft and writing and marketing that make that project a success. And that's what's come out in the Future Chronicles, and that's what Pavarti's learned in her anthologies, and Daniel's learned with his magazine. And so all of this knowledge and experience have come together, I think, to make the current project, Dominion Rising, very strong. So I'm pretty proud of what Future Chronicles has done. We've essentially, with a community base of 650 people, subscriber list of something like 45,000 people, we've launched about 175 authors, and that includes both indie authors as well as major award winners, Hugo, Nebula, Campbell, World Fantasy Award winners, New York Times bestselling authors, USA Today bestselling authors. You'll have probably heard some of the names of folks who've been associated with the Chronicles over the years. Hugh Howey, Ken Liu, Robert J. Sawyer, Julie Cerneda, Shannon McGuire, a host of people who, if you go in the bookstores, you'll recognize their names. And all of them have lent their stories to the Chronicles to help spotlight new and upcoming writers who haven't had the chance previously to get their voices heard. So we're hoping to do more. As I've said, we've got 8 more planned in the works, and it's going to be a very exciting year.
That's one of the most exciting aspects of collaborative works like this, is that you do have people that might have seen a little more publishing success than some of the new up-and-comers. But, we're able to help spotlight each other. And I think that's a fantastic form of collaboration, not just bringing everyone bringing a story in, but each other helping to, lift the other authors up to, for them to gain recognition as well. I think that's the real magic of what's going on.
That's essentially right. I mean, that's part of the magic of why the Chronicles exploded. It's because people wanted to write their best. They knew that they were going to appear alongside Hugh Howey in a volume. They knew that Ken Liu was going to be an author there. Robert J. Sawyer was going to be an author. And so they wrote their hearts out, not just to appear as good as they can alongside their peers, but also alongside the people that they've revered and they've looked up to in the science fiction and fantasy community. It's resulted in some really outstanding stories. And it's also resulted in a lot of the alumni starting up their own collaborative projects, like Pavarti has and like Daniel has and Patrice has with her space opera series Beyond the Stars, which is also quite an amazing series on its own.
It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Samuel, one thing I have lamented about the success of the Future Chronicles is that I originally sought you out as a guest on the show through our mutual connection with Jason Gurley. He was kind enough to introduce us. But I sought you out because I loved your short fiction. I was a huge fan from the beginning. But with the success of the Future Chronicles, you were contributing stories less and less because of all of the responsibilities that you had now as a publisher and not just as a writer. But that's one reason I'm super excited about Dominion Rising, because you have contributed a whole standalone novel to this. Is that right?
That's right, and that's one of the reasons that I love Dominion Rising. The Pavarti and Gwynn were essentially organizing this from the start, and I was in a boxed set Facebook group, and the Facebook group were basically people looking for projects that they could work with together, and there was a box set call from Pavarti and Gwynn, and I saw, and they were looking to put together a science fiction and fantasy box set, and I saw a number of people from the Chronicles in that, and I thought, gosh, it's been so long now. When I started out, as you said, Hank, I came in this game in order to write my own novels, but because of the success of the Chronicles, there was just less and less time to do it. In fact, my entire output over the course of the last 3 years has been, a handful of short stories and a lot of promises. Last year, a traditional publisher even approached me and said, "Gosh, do you have a novel in you?" Well, sorry, this wasn't last year. This was a year before. Do you have a novel in you? Because we'll take it, and we'll take an outline as well. And I told them, of course I've got a novel, but I'm still editing it, because I stalled him because I just didn't have one finished. And it's been a year since I've said that, and he's probably gotten tired of waiting, and he's gone on and moved on to someone else. But I thought this was just a great chance. Dominion Rising would consist of a great number of people who would kick my butt if I did not finish my novel. So,
yes, we will.
And so it is with great pleasure that I joined the group, and I started working on what would eventually be The Zoo at the End of the World, which is my contribution to Dominion Rising. I hope that a lot of the people who followed me over the years through the Chronicles and through some of the other anthologies that I've contributed stories to, and I've contributed to the Uncommon Anthologies, the Canyons, as well as to the Beyond the Stars. I hope that they will come to the Dominion Rising and be happy with what I've got there. Be kind. I'm still a newbie at all this novel writing, but I also hope that they'll discover 22 other novels and a plethora of other novelists that they will find just amazing. I hope they will discover a lot of new voices that they wouldn't have discovered before, because that's really the goal of Dominion Rising, to reach as big a readers base as possible. And I've found that with the group that we've assembled, the number of authors with all of their experience, all of their contacts and marketing experience, that the readership that we're growing for each other is going to be just outstanding.
And I know it's going to be. Let's bring Gwynn in. Gwynn, first off, welcome to the show. This is your first appearance on Author Stories. I'm sure it won't be your last. But thank you for joining us today. Tell us, first off, who are you, and what will listeners find intriguing about you and your work?
Thanks for having me. I write both sci-fi and fantasy, but I also write adventure travel memoirs. I'm an adventurer at heart, have been my entire life. So all my books have adventure. It's an enormous part of my stories. My biggest series, the Crown of Blood series, isn't really a mashup. It's a bit of sci-fi, it's a bit of fantasy, it's a bit of steampunk. It was before I understood the concept of writing to market. Although even with the concept of writing to market, I still follow my heart, I must be honest. I think that's as important to me as following the trends and writing to market. So yeah, it's a mashup. I'm now going down a different avenue. I've now not started writing with my daughter. She and I are co-authoring, and we've co-authored 3 books this year, one of which is going in Dominion Rising, one of which we're sending to a literary agent. He approached us in January when we hit New York Times with the Dark Humanity box set. He approached us for a fresh novel. So we've written a novel for him, and we did the avenue that we're going down is very much more a sword and sorcery, high fantasy, fae, lots of magic, less of the sci-fi side, less of that mashup that I really love. You know, with steampunk, you can basically do anything. Give it a steampunk label, and you can weave anything into it. But working with my daughter now, Erin St. Pierre, we're very much in the fantasy groove at the moment, and I'm loving it. I'm loving working with my daughter. I'm loving what I'm doing. And then, of course, there's Dominion Rising, which, to be honest, is a huge amount of time, a lot of effort, and worth every minute of it. But it is it's like like this little egg that I'm nurturing, trying to bring to fruition. So yeah, I'm a bit like a mother hen, I think, in the group. But nobody say anything. Nobody say a word.
We love you, Mommy Gwen.
Well,
so that's
Mother Hen Gwynn. Tell us, what is Dominion Rising? We've alluded to it several times during the show. What is it? What is the goal? And I think some people maybe don't quite understand this concept of a box set. What is it? What makes those special? And what's the goal of putting together one of these box sets?
Dominion Rising is a collection of 26 authors. Unfortunately, one of the authors who was part of the set, Tom Shute, recently passed away, but Tom is still very much part and parcel of Dominion Rising. So his uncompleted novel will be included in the set, and the set is dedicated to him. So we still count him as one of our own. But it's 26 authors who've come together and said, let's pool our resources. Let's create an amazing box set of 23 novels, because there are quite a few people collaborating. Well, there, you can do the math. It's how many are collaborating. And let's put together a box set that we give a long pre-order to, in order to create a big tail of sales for a number of reasons. The first reason is that we're wanting to create new markets for ourselves. We're wanting to find new audiences. We're wanting to get into the hands of readers who perhaps wouldn't have found our work standing alone. The other reason why we would want to do this is we are aiming for a list. We're hoping that through our efforts that we will either hit a New York Times list or pretty high up on the USA Today's list. So yes, that is part of the goal. But for me, and maybe this is because I've already had that experience in a box set, to hit twice, to hit a New York Times list. For me, that is not the primary goal. For me, the goal is to take this opportunity for these authors who are trusting Pav and I call Pavarti Pav and I, to lead them to this goal. And for me, that's the important thing. For me, being part of a box set, while hitting lists and all of that and getting new readers, great. The other thing, it's like a little university. It's like a little college where you get together in your private Facebook group and you've got these incredibly talented people, enthusiastic, keen, lots of ideas, and you say, this is blue sky territory, guys. There's no such thing as a bad idea. There's no such thing as a silly idea. Let's just throw everything on the table and let's see what we can do, what magic we can make, taking everybody's ideas and saying, wow, well, let's see what we can do with that. Well, that's good. Well, maybe we can run some kind of giveaway with that, or maybe we can put together a swag something here, and we pool our collective ideas and we make something magical out of it. And I think the learning experience for everybody, I don't think there is a single person who will walk away from Dominion Rising and say they didn't learn something. They didn't get something out of it from a personal growth point of view, as an author, as a team player, as a marketer, all of those skills that have just come. You can't buy it. You just can't buy it.
Totally agree, Gwen. And we, the way Dominion Rising came about, because it was from a separate sci-fi marketing group, this emphasis on speculative fiction is something that really hasn't been done much before. I know there are a few other projects, like Sam's project, combined sci-fi and fantasy, but for the most part, the genres are kept separate. And we really took the approach of Dominion Rising and trying to look at who are we as a community of writers. We share readers, whether we be sci-fi or fantasy, because speculative fiction has a lot of crossover. Please forgive my dogs in the background who I can't get quiet. And
this is a dog-friendly podcast. Don't worry.
I appreciate that. My dogs are assholes. So.
Aren't they all?
But also, to approach this giant project, this giant idea of a box set in a completely innovative way. We're not just authors anybody who paid their money who could come in. These are top tier authors. Handpicked by Gwen and I, to really, really showcase what's the best out there. And if you look at the lineup, I mean, you can see some of the names we have, even just the names of the people who are in this group. Having Sam in our box set, I was downright giddy when I messaged him and asked him to be involved, because I know he's got a brilliant novel in him. We just need to, smack him around a little and get him to write it. And I knew that he would be, full enthusiastic. And that's what we needed. We needed people who were going to come in, guns blazing, ready to go, crazy ideas. We've done things that no one else has ever done in looking at kind of a cross-promotional opportunity. We've done these massive reader giveaways in order to encourage our readers to get excited about this and to share the word. We've done author-specific giveaways to get other authors, even authors who aren't involved in this project this time, excited about the idea of what we're doing and maybe interested in joining us in something else.
Let's go ahead and address the cynics and the naysayers that are listening who might say, box sets are really just marketing gimmicks. They're just trying to hit a list, and there's nothing particularly special about this. And we've even over the last 6 to 9 months, I may have that time frame wrong. There have been some changes in the way Amazon handles stories that were previously published in anthologies or box sets and things like that to whatever their end game is there. But there have been changes due to different publishing situations. So let's go ahead and address those ideas that people might have that the only reason you do a box set or a collection like this is just to game the system.
No.
Okay.
Can
I address that?
I did not say this was my opinion. I'm just saying we're addressing the people out there that might have that opinion.
Okay, Sam, go ahead, and then I'd like to say something.
I knew you all would. So. Go.
The reason I'm in this is to finish the novel. Period. I've gone 3 years with wanting to finish my novel without the impetus to do that. So and I've got the readership for the novel itself, but I needed an impetus to put it together. And this group has collectively basically given me that motivation to put my ass to the chair and to write. So why am I joining this group? Essentially, it's kind of like my NaNoWriMo, 26 top-selling authors basically hammering me and telling me to finish that novel.
Yeah, as for the comments about box sets, box sets aren't for everyone. Anthologies aren't for everyone. Not everything is for everyone, thank goodness, because the world would be a terribly boring place if everybody wanted and did the same things. However, box sets have an important place in launching careers, in gaining new readership, and in hitting a list. And some people may say, oh, you gamed the system to hit the list. Well, I'm not sure how you game the system to sell 20,000 books. I know some people claim that, they give away, thousands of books. Well, have you ever tried giving away a few copies of a book? You beg people to take the damn thing. So the concept of gaming the system and selling 20,000 books, if you can figure out how to do it an easier way, what we've done it, then tell me that we have worked for every single sale.
The fact is that we have worked one-on-one with representatives from every single vendor. We are transparent in every step that we take within the group. We work as a collaborative. We are transparent with all of our marketing techniques. We try to make sure that everything is a consensus as much as possible. With 26 people, it's not always 100%, but we work very, very hard, and any major decisions are 100%. We work with those reps to make sure that everything we do is within terms of service, and that there can't be a question about this idea of gaming the system. Gwynn is great at keeping me in line. I'm good at keeping her in line when either of us gets a little bit worried or upset about something. And the group as a whole is a community of personalities who are extremely committed to having their career built on good work. I don't want letters if we didn't earn them. And by being together, by collaborating and really investing in each other's success, it's not that different from having a traditional publisher who is investing in your success. We don't have a traditional publisher. We don't have somebody who's going to put us on a 3-year book tour around the world. What we have is each other. And that matters more to me, and I think to most of our authors, than any of the rest of it. What we have is each other. What we have is our integrity, and we have good work that readers are going to be excited to get their hands on.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, back to the idea of collaborative. It may be by circumstance that we end up with a wide reach, but it's not by accident. The reason why I was motivated to join the set is because it's an all-original collection, and these are top-tier authors. These are authors that I want to take the time to listen to. I want to see how they operate, what they do, and I'm learning from everybody in the set. So this is a kind of the same way that the Tales is short fiction and the Future Chronicles Uncommon is short fiction and mid-size. This is a long fiction, and these are hand-picked authors that each bring something new to the table. And with that, in this collaboration, Dominion Rising has become a trendsetter in reaching readers with over 400,000 reader reach through newsletters. Dominion Rising has essentially innovated how we swap our own books with each other. We've invited people outside of the box set to swap with us as well. This is changing to where if you look now in the communities and on keyboards, you see swaps are taking off like mad. And that's just one of the things that we started early on with the long pre-order. The pre-order itself in length is now something you're seeing more and more and more across the ebook stores. And this is why it's worth my time to be involved. I could write a novel without a box set. I have a successful project. I have a pretty good writing career that I love and a family I love. But the opportunity to take this grad class, that's the roll up your sleeves, sit around the table and just listen to what everybody else has to say.
Well, and
I think Daniel touched the perfect point there. What we have in Dominion Rising is a master class in indie box sets. It is a master class. It's the first box set to have all speculative fiction. It is the first box set to have all new original novels. Prior to Dominion Rising announcing, other box sets had reprints of novels or collected all reprints or some original. We are all original. As he said, we've innovated in marketing. We have most groups have a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day launch party. We have a 3-month long launch party. Every day there is a new author, not necessarily in Dominion Rising. About 90 authors have signed up for this, and every day they are giving away stuff. Yesterday the other day we gave away a Macintosh, there was a giveaway for a Macintosh computer. There are iPad giveaways, swag giveaways, real and digital giveaways. And I want to emphasize that this is actually having an impact, not only that people are emulating the good practices that they found in the Dominion Rising Masterclass, but it's also gaining results. Gwynn noted that the goal is to hit something like 20,000 orders, sales of a book. That's a stupendous amount, and people are skeptical, perhaps, in how are you going to get that many orders without giving your books away? Well, let me tell you, we're about between 2.5 months away from launch, and we have sold already about between 12 and 15,000 books.
Good grief.
We have not given away a single book. There has been no need to do that at this point in time, because guess what? All of the things that we have been doing, hitting our 400,000 readers, contributing to advertising, doing the long pre-orders, getting authors and readers to support us, all of that has worked. We actually have the number of sales that we need to hit any list that we want.
I just want to interject there, Sam. That isn't books. That's box sets. So that's about 350,000 books that have been sold already. Sold.
That is correct.
That's
insane.
You are right. Actually, that is a great statistic.
That is insane.
Someone should make a graphic for that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, we've got a great graphics team.
So it's a fabulous thing. It's an innovation in the publishing industry that I think that when they see the success of something like Dominion Rising. And as Gwynn and Pav have said before, we work very, very closely with Amazon and with Kindle and with Kobo. In fact, you're going to see some of our work going on the blogs of some of these platform distributors soon. You're going to be really surprised. How in the world did they get on that blog? Well, it's because we work very closely with these folks. So we're a very we want everything to be transparent. We want people to see that there is the possibility of success doing it the right way, and more important, we want to produce a product that people will read and love.
And that's what it comes down to, is you want to do the best work you can, and you actually want people to have it in their hands and read it. If people don't actually buy the work and read the work, then all of the things we've done are for naught.
Yeah, and so to keep up with Amazon, despite the naysayers, we aren't gaming the system. We're redefining the system.
I love that.
We're creating a system that works for us. And this is, I have to say, something I love about this is the free market at work.
Absolutely.
This is the hand of God at work. If you listen to people, I'm here in Manhattan, and there's always the talk of what's happening down on the street. And, there's a firm faith and belief that the free market works. And, when you see the type of leadership that Pav and Gwynn have put together, and the enrollment in a box set, it's amazing how organic and how definitive it is to the tendrils reaching out from 26 authors, the ripple effects across the industry.
Absolutely. And, Gwynn and I are getting regularly requests from authors both inside the Dominion Rising project as it is and outside. When are you two going to do another project? What's next? And we haven't decided anything. We're not announcing anything. I think both of us are going to sleep for at least a month once this releases. But the fact is that what we're doing, it just in pre-sale, and with having these innovative ideas, being willing to say yes to whatever the next new exciting idea is. Does every idea work? No. Does every idea deserve the chance to get thought about and tossed around and figure out how we can make it awesome? Yes. And I don't know how much that matters to readers, but to authors, it matters. And they're already coming to us excited about what might be on deck.
I love it.
Another thing that a lot of people who complain about box sets, another issue is, I was in a box set and I didn't get any sell through, and it wasn't worth my while. Well, the question of whether a box set is going to work for you as an author, really at the end of the day, the box set is the framework. It is the mini Amazon store that the box set author organizers offers you. How you create your world within that, your sales page within that Amazon store of the box set is really up to you. I mean, if you've got the best blurb you can have, the best tagline that you have, and the very, very best book that you can write, then you should be getting sales through. If you're not getting the sales through that you think that you should be getting, then maybe you should be asking yourself rather, was the book I put in the best book I could have put in? Because in my experience of every time I've done a box set, I've certainly had sell through. But, as you said, these are what the naysayers are saying about box sets. So I think that's something to be addressed.
You know what? Every author who's in Dominion Rising has put their best foot forward. Every single person who is involved has come to the table with their best work, with a marketing plan, with a willing to invest, their time, their talent, their energy, their money at times, their expertise, and not just give it, but to teach it and share it. So, like anything else in life, I think you get out of it what you put into it. And I'll say that for my part, I've put in a shit ton of work. I mean, just an exhausting amount of work that goes above and beyond. I'm not writing my own projects the way I usually do. I am not taking on new clients the way I usually do, because I'm dedicating it to Dominion Rising. And that's what I've put in. What I'm getting out, even regardless of whether we make X number of sales or any other milestones people want to judge us on, I've already gotten back more than what I put in friendship, in encouragement, in new ideas, new information, new connections. It's really been educational and exciting and inspiring.
And that's what matters. That's at the end of the day, what matters. We've grown as writers. We've hopefully grown our audience through strategic connections with other writers, and hopefully more people have our book in their hand. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Dominion Rising releases August the 8th, which is from the time of this airing between 5 and 6 weeks. So if you've not pre-ordered yet, there is time to get your pre-order in. You guys, I think Samuel alluded to this earlier, that you've got this long launch party that's going on. And I think there might even still be a giveaway going on. Tell people what they can expect from now to launch day, and we're all looking forward to getting this box set in our hands on August 8th.
Gosh, there's every author that's coming on has got new things. So if you just go to the Facebook and search for the Dominion Rising launch party, you'll see there's always something happening every day. On the other hand, there's also a Dominion Rising webpage, which is pktyler.com/dominion-rising. That's pktyler.com/dominion-rising. And what you're going to find there is you're going to find an epic reader giveaway that, apart from the launch party, has a ton of other prizes, such as an iPad mini, 22 paperbacks, and lots more as well. So if you'll just check that page out, pktyler.com/dominion-rising, you'll see a ton of other things there. It's a great summary of what you can get from this besides the book.
Awesome.
And if I can quickly just say, I just want to make sure that we mention the Dominion authors, who are fabulous, and literally every single one of them have stepped up and given of their hearts and souls to this project. And it's Gwynn White, Aaron St. Pierre, Sam Peralta, P.K. Tyler, S.M. Blooding, and the Anthea Sharp, Margot Bond Collins, Lisa Blackwood, S.M. Schmitz, Aaron Hayes, Ella Summers, Felix R. Savage, Melanie Karsak, Timothy C. Ward, Daniel Arthur Smith, Tony Bertowski, Rebecca Rode, Sherry Lasota, Becca Andre, Logan Thomas Snyder, Dean Wilson, KJ Colt, JC Andriski, Marilyn Peake, Ann Christie, and of course we're keeping in our hearts and hopefully some part of his project in the book, Tom Schutt, who passed away. But that list of names alone is, I mean, good God, the talent that we've been lucky enough to pull together. I can't wait to read it.
A veritable dream team of publishing. Pav, Daniel, Samuel, and Gwynn, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show and talk about Dominion Rising. I'm going to put a link to the pre-order and to the Facebook page and to the page on Pav's site, and I hope you all will go over and get your pre-order in. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Stay tuned now for a clip from the Jason Crane series by Richard Glebes. There's a link to the entire series in the show notes. As always, tune in every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes of the Author Stories podcast. Find all of the archives at hankgarner.com. Now on to our clip from the Jason Crane series by Richard Glebes.
His body broke free of its paralysis, and he stumbled forward, losing his balance. He fell down the slope towards the spot where they had been. His hand shot out unthinkingly, and he grabbed the corner of the black stone bridge. Hoofbeats. Pounding hoofbeats. Coming closer. Coming up the road. Someone or something galloped towards him. The head of an emaciated horse burst from the gloom of the road. The rider was fumbling, out of control, without saddle or bridle, clutching at the white mane, kicking the beast across the hindquarters with his thin legs, his face a frozen mask of terror. He whipped around to look back over his shoulder. Something chased him. Something terrible. Jason spun away as the horse ran over him, spearing him through the chest with its iron-shod hooves. He was unhurt. The horse galloped upward and across the bridge, across strong timbers, rough-hewn and knot-holed. The rider wheeled the horse about, looking back from the far shore. He was wheezing. A sloppy white ruffle bobbed under his chin. His face was hopeful now. A familiar face, much like the one Jason saw every morning in the mirror. Something thundered up behind Jason, not with a clatter of hoofbeats, but with the teeth-rattling thunder of stone on stone. Ichabod, yes, of course, the man was Ichabod, wailed, and the sound of his terror echoed across the valley. The hot breath of a horse burned the back of Jason's neck. He stood frozen, unable to turn his head to see the thing behind him. He didn't want to. This was no ordinary vision. He felt with certainty that the rider behind him, no, the horseman behind him, knew he was there. Ichabod kicked his horse. It reared, brayed, and would have thrown him but for the fistfuls of its mane he clutched. Horse and rider spun in place on the far side of the bridge, disoriented. The horseman behind Jason laughed, a terrible, deep, cracking sound from all directions like 1,000 axes chopping down the woods. Jason felt searing heat as a ball of flame whipped over his shoulder. A burning jack-o'-lantern arced across the bridge. Its maniacal face spun end over end. It grinned back at Jason for an instant, spun around and crashed into Ichabod's temple, knocking him from his horse and into the dust. The pumpkin careened upwards, exploding against the trees, shooting tendrils of flame up their trunks, igniting branches and showering the world with sparks and flaming leaves. Jason recoiled, fell to his knees, and threw his arms over his face. His lungs and heart pumped wildly. They slowed. He brought his arms down.